Okay, Diane H. asked the panel, what is your take on Pope Francis's anti-stem cell use policy? Anti-stem cell. Oh, he doesn't want us to use stem cells? You know,
he's a good guy.
He's a good guy, basically. Yeah, and I said this last week on the show. Every once in a while, he has got to kick it old school.
I think so.
You know, like he does. He came out for exorcism.
Yeah,
it's
well,
like,
there you go. Yeah, but that's not that. No one's going to be mad about that. People love exorcism.
You got to throw some red. Yeah.
It doesn't affect your day to day.
No. You got to throw some red meat to the base. You know.
I'm with him.
Yeah.
Play the game.
The stem cell does affect people. Absolutely.
He's not going to stop it.
Does he control it at all? Yeah.
No. Oh, okay. Seth Rogen, why does comedy touch less nowadays on social and political issues than it did in the 60s and 70s? And of course, you were the perfect one.
Exactly.
Since A, you're touching on social issues, and you weren't around in this.
And I wasn't alive then. Well, I'll tell you, I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think that's a.
Okay.
I disagree with that.
Disagree with the premise.
Yeah.
Actually, on that one, Bill, I've interviewed a lot of comedians on my show, and a lot of them say is one of the reasons they don't go there is because they fear. A lot of them fear the protests. They fear now with social media, and so a lot of them say, you know what? If I can focus just on family, focus on things we have in common versus something that could really piss somebody off. I mean, a lot of comedians say, I don't want to be bothered with it.
It's what John Cleese and I were talking about. The crowd is too politically correct.
I don't find that at all. It's
really
so funny. Yeah, like
walk a mile in my shoes.
I know, but like we made a whole movie like essentially making fun of Christianity with This Is the End, and
but you're not there in the theater.
Right. That's what's different. A movie is different. Than the stand-up act because Chris Rock said something in the New York Times. He said. He doesn't like now because no one can even work on your material. He said a joke may not even be ready for public viewing, but I'm working on it. Somebody records it, it gets out, and now I got to explain what the joke was. And so they say, you know what? I don't even waste my time with it.
And also, I must say, This Is the End, which is a movie I truly love. What a brilliant structure, and I love the way it's. You know, it kind of looks like very loose. Yeah. You know, but really, obviously, when you watch it the second time, like I did, you see, oh, this beat, it's very clever. Yeah. But it didn't even strike me as that anti-Christian. It's just crazy.
But I think some people...
The rapture, and even most Christians don't believe it.
But I think some people who get labeled as comics who are like, ooh, the political correct community is condemning me, forget that they also have to be funny. And I think that when your shit is funny, people are much more willing to accept an idea that they themselves might find horribly offensive, but when they're laughing at it, it makes it much more acceptable.
I also think there's this new genre, which is, you know, you're one of the pioneers of it, Bill. Like you, Jon Stewart, Colbert, a lot of people get their news from funny shows.
Right.
And that's great.
But not all funny shows challenge people to face what, you know, maybe is a prejudice of their own, or just a belief they want to hold that is not necessarily true, like Americans are stupid. Anyway, what does it mean, Chrystia, that European leaders are now turning on Putin?
It means that they have seen the light. It's really good. No, I mean, I think Putin is really dangerous, and Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, who people thought was kind of soft, actually, I think, has a very long vision and is standing firm, and it's a good thing. I think it's what Putin is doing is really dangerous.
Well, yeah, it's certainly... But, yeah, I mean, do you think he's really going to take over, like, Estonia?
I think he could try. I mean,
really?
no, seriously. Like, I think the two next things you could see Putin try to do are either...
Why are you laughing?
Is he going after Estonia now?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Baltics would be next.
No, potentially, yeah. No, Bill is absolutely right. Like, no, he could.
I don't think he is either, but, I mean, that would be the next...
No, he could either sort of a deeper invasion of Ukraine, which would be full-on war, or in the Baltic states, and it would be Estonia or Latvia.
Because there's many Russians there.
Exactly. They have regions which are 75 and 85% Russian that border Russia, and what you do is the hybrid war scenario you saw in Crimea. You don't like invade with tanks. You send in agitators, you pay local people, you disguise it as a local separatist movement, and then when those local people vote for independence, you say to NATO, so what are you going to do now? Are you going to fight these people? And if Putin wins that, Article 5 is over, and NATO is over, and that's terrifying.
But his economy's in a tank. There's no growth. You know, oil prices are dropping. This guy's not winning.
Yeah, well, he thinks he's winning because his poll numbers are pretty good.
Yeah.
And,
you think he looks like Daniel Craig?
Like a kind of slightly puffy Daniel Craig. Yeah, like a little puffy
I think he wants to be Daniel Craig.
I thought it was more like a white Pootie Tang myself.
White Pootie Tang.
Right.
Chris Matthews, you will get the last question of the semester for us.
Delightful.
Do you think that Congress will be able to pass any legislation that would
That's a good stop right there.
that would actually help the middle class? You know what? Fuck the middle class. How about helping the poor? Why did anybody ever ask about the poor? The middle class. I'm sure they're doing
because the poor have
not
no
as well, but
lobbyists.
what?
The poor have no lobbyists.
No, because, you take the middle class, the real middle class somewhere, 20 and 80 a year or something like that. It's hard to define it because everybody's middle class. But, basically they're making $3,600 a year less than they were making when Bush took office.
Yeah.
And $2,100 a year less in real terms than when Obama took office. They are really getting squeezed, and it's a fact.
No, the middle class are getting squeezed because we keep expanding the damn definition.
No.
People who are making $200,000 a year are not middle class.
I'm talking about the people. I'm talking about the people.
Define the number. What's the number?
70% of the American people make less than 50 a year. I know the real number.
Yes, that's the one.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. And they're the ones getting squeezed. And that's the story of the economic life of the country right now. The average person who goes to work in the morning, does everything right, is getting screwed. And that's a fact.
And to your point, Bill,
that's
the
new.
poor?
It's different. It wasn't like that in the post-war era. This is a new thing since the late 70s. And that's why people are really horrified. Because they're like, you do everything right, and it's not working.
And to Bill's point, when one person in that family loses their check, they go from that 50 down to 25 or 20, and now they're in that poor range. And our politicians, you're right, it drove me crazy watching these debates and everything else, is the middle class, because they don't want to accept the reality that when that one person loses their job, their whole life changes.
Right. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, audience.
My point.
Yes.